Hello everyone, you're watching another episode of Blank Canvas. I'm the voice behind the camera. I'm Erica, and today's artist is John Smalls. John, say hello to the people out there.
Hey everybody.
And for anyone who might recognize John and his sculpting skills, he's been on Blank Canvas before. So we're really happy to have you back.
Glad to be back.
Great. So everyone, let us know where you're watching from today, and make sure that you post your comments and your questions for John, and I'll try to get to as many as possible today. Remember, this is only a 45-minute show, so it does go pretty fast, but hopefully you'll get to see some really cool stuff that John has going on today. So John, can you tell the audience what you're working on today?
Today I'm working on a sculpture about fatherhood. So it's like this union between father and child. That's all. It's like a personal project that I'm working on, a collection of work. So this is going to be one of the pieces in that collection, along with like a few paintings and sketches. So this is just the first sculpture of that series.
Very cool.
When I was on the show last time, I was doing like a head, a bust. So that was kind of like a mock-up practice run for like this figure right here.
Very cool. And I know last time you were using a special type of clay. You said it was like oil or something?
Yeah.
Is that what you're using today?
Yeah, same clay, different color. I was using an oil-based clay called a Plasticine. This one is pretty firm. It's oil-based, so I don't have to worry about it drying out. When I'm working, it'll stay fluid, it'll stay semi-soft.
Okay.
You know, but as you can see, it's not falling down, melting, so it's pretty solid. Yeah, I like to work with it and model, and hopefully, once I'm done with this, the clay is firm enough that I can make a mold from it.
Very
and actually
cool.
make a replica and plaster.
So we have a few people in the comments who are chiming in. We have Laura from the UK saying, I sculpt too, so this is pretty awesome to see on Blank Canvas.
Nice.
And we have Maria from Harlem saying, wow, this is really nice. I've been thinking about getting into sculpting. Do you have basically any advice for someone who's just getting into sculpting or working with clay?
I would say just buy a block of clay and start working and see where you go from there. You know, that's how I started. You know, I had an idea, went to the art store, and I just started messing around with clay and kind of like trial and error. And then I picked up a book. You know, I started like really studying some techniques, but I'm still new at it. I just, you know, I consider it like an experiment.
Are there any tools that you would need besides the clay that you like to use?
I have all types of tools. I have wooden tools like these, and I have metal tools.
Can you hold those up again, the
Sure.
wooden tools, so
Sure.
people in the audience can see what you've got going on there?
Yeah, so like the metal tools, these are actually dentist tools, but they're the same
Oh.
they're the same tools for sculpting. The funny thing about all these tools, because I haven't taken, I'm not traditionally trained in sculpture, I just bought these online and bought them from the art store, and I just use them as I see fit. You know, I'm probably using them the wrong way, incorrect way, but it doesn't matter because I still get the same effects.
Got it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you from actually sculpting.
No, it's okay. That's why I'm
Just
here.
thought the audience might want to see that.
So right now, what I'm working on is the figure, but with clay, the main thing you have to worry about or concern yourself with is one, proportion, because you want it to look not necessarily realistic, but you have to make sure the proportions are right. And when you're building something, it's like you're building in 3D. You're building a three-dimensional object. So if the proportions are off, the whole piece will look off, no matter how detailed it is. So with this, I'm just shaping out the body of the child, you know, it's okay. You know, I got to work on some arms, but I got the general gist of it. And then now that I have the child, I have to go back in and bulk out the father a little bit.
Okay.
You know, just because I go back and forth little by little. So at one point I had the father and he was fine, but then once I added the child, the father was too small. So now that I have the child, I got to go back and make the father bigger because he has to look like he's actually holding a child.
Makes sense.
Rather than like two people together. So, you know, it's like a lot of tug of war. a lot of back and forth with clay. Like you'll add stuff, like what I'm doing, I'm just adding blocks of clay like this, and then I'm gonna take it away. You know, I'm gonna scrape what I don't need. But it's always better just to add on in the beginning. Then you can just give it more life, more weight, more dimension. And I have a turnstile, so I can always just rotate and just check out the angles without losing my position. Like that's something it's hard to do in painting. You know, with other arts, it's good to, you know, step back. But with clay, you can just, you know, check it out from different angles and see where, like from the back it could look good, but then you go to the front, it can look all messed up. Like here, it's kind of off. You know, so you just gotta, it's a lot of back and forth with this. But the more you work with clay, the more your sculpture will come to life. And that's such a great feeling to feel like you made something with your hands. And
yeah,
it's I like it, you know. And with every sculpture, I'm learning something new.
Well, we have Sarah in the comments who's saying, this looks pretty good so far. Keep up the good work. And we have a few people in the comments who are saying, yeah, I do recognize John from a previous episode of Blank Canvas. So they're happy to have you back. And anyone who may be watching Blank Canvas for the first time today, or maybe you've watched some episodes in the past but didn't catch the one that John was on, he was on our episode from June 18th, and he did a sculpture as well back then. So if you want to see past episodes, but especially catch up with what John did before, you can always go to littlethings.com/live. And you'll see a click down button, and you can watch Blank Canvas, and then you can watch the other shows that we have here at Little Things. And make sure that you follow John on Instagram and check out his website. Those will pop up periodically throughout the show so that you can see the rest of his work. And I believe you might have said this last time, but just in case, you do take commission work,
yes.
Correct? Okay.
In yen, euros, pesos, and dollars.
Sounds good.
And Bitcoin if you have it.
So Kevin wants to know, how long have you been sculpting? He said he heard that you said you weren't classically trained, but how long has this been in the works?
I want to say 2 years. It might have been 3 years. I lost count. I know I did my first sculpture a few years ago. I guess 3 years ago now. Yeah, I think 3 years. So I did a first sculpture just on a whim, and I don't know. I've just been messing with it ever since, off and on. I kind of have to put myself in the mood to sculpt because it's like you can't, like for me, I can't like dabble in it. You know, if I'm going to make a piece, I got to make a piece. I can't do anything else.
Okay.
So it's kind of like I know that if I'm going to sculpt something, I'm going to need like a 2 weeks at least. You know, rather with painting, I can let a painting sit and come back to it. It's not a problem. But with sculptures, I noticed like with each piece, I have to be committed to it. At least that's how I feel now. I might not feel like that later.
So for everyone who's just tuning in, our artist today is John Smalls. As I mentioned, he has been on Blank Canvas before, so we are really happy that he's back. We do have to take a very quick break, but I promise we'll be back in one moment. Okay everyone, so we're back. You're still watching Blank Canvas. Our artist today is John Smalls. John, we have a few people in the comments who are checking out your Instagram page.
Yes.
And so obviously a lot of them are like, oh, he paints as well. Correct?
Correct.
And we have Rico who wants to know about your most recent post from July 7th. It says something for an upcoming project, and you tag someone in it. It's like two guys with like a peace sign and a thumbs up.
Oh, that's a podcast.
Got it. Okay, cool.
It's funny because we were not supposed to say anything about it, but
oh,
I'll release it today. So it's actually I had a podcast before, and you know, it's kind of hard doing a podcast by yourself.
Yeah.
Like being consistent and making it interesting and entertaining. So my buddy, the one who actually told me I should do a podcast in the first place, we decided let's just come together and just do a podcast. So one of the reasons we were waiting to tell people, we want to make sure we had enough episodes already in stock to keep people hungry. We don't want to say like we have one episode and that's it. You know, hey, come listen to our one episode. So now we have 3 episodes. So yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I like podcasting. You know. We talk about everything. So that's what that illustration is, just a portrait of him and I, or him and me. And yeah, that's going to be like our logo. for the podcast. Well, not logo, but image for the podcast.
Well, I think they're feeling it, so it's pretty cool.
So see, like what I'm doing here, so I have, as I was saying earlier, I'm adding on clay, but then like if I see a spot where I can define it, then I'll just scoop away a little bit of clay. They call it raking. So it's like raking, like raking leaves.
Okay.
So it's like I have the general shape of the figure, and then little by little, I'll add some clay, take some away. Now I'll add like a little bit of definition, like a little bit of lines, leave it alone, and that's my method of building up the sculpture until a point where I'm like, okay, it's done. Some people, they like to be very specific and, anatomically correct. I'm more of an illustrator, so I don't really care for all of that. As long as it's just like, you can see it's a human, you can see what I'm trying to do. Not every muscle has to be there, but you have a good shape and good anatomy. That's enough. Leave the details and like other things.
So we have Travis from New Jersey, and he wants to know, because he may have missed it in the beginning of the show, what kind of clay are you using again?
Plasticine oil clay, or just plasticine clay.
And he wants to know, is there a particular place where you go to get it?
Any art store. They'll have it. It's pretty common. It's not like specialty or anything. Like most art stores will have some type of clay to use. I've only been using this clay for about not even a year. I took a class in the sculpting class, and this is what the teacher recommended.
Okay.
And I bought so many blocks because they were on sale. So it's actually funny, I used like 6 blocks of clay just for this. So after I'm done with this piece, I'm gonna go back to using air dry clay. I like it better. Because I know like once I'm done with the air dry piece, that's it. It's like a solid figure. This is cool, but it's not permanent. That's the problem I don't like with oil-based clay.
I think you may have mentioned that in the last show you were on.
It's very temporary. Like you can't store it. It's like anything that touches it, it'll, leave a mark. So with air dry clay, it's like when it's done, it's solid. You could spray paint it. You could put a coat on it. It's like a rock. I mean, it could break if you drop it, but it has that finished look. And this will never have a finished look to it. That's why I want to do. I want to make a mold out of it.
We have Gerald, who sends you a thumbs up and says, "Keep it up, dude."
Thank you.
And for anyone who's just tuning in, our artist today is John Smalls, and his Instagram will pop up periodically throughout the show along with his website, so make sure that you check out the rest of his work. He is open to taking commission work as well, so if there's something you're interested in and you just want to hit him up and ask him about it, make sure that you do that so that if there's something that you want sculpted, he can do it for you. And he's also a painter, guys, so I want to throw that out there. So make sure that you definitely do take a look at his work so that if there's something that stands out to you, you guys probably can work on something together. Because you're for collaborations as well, correct?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, depending on the right project.
Exactly. Yeah, I do graphic design, illustration, painting, just graphic design, and then visual arts.
And if any of you guys may have missed it, I did mention a few times in the show already that John has been on a previous episode of Blank Canvas, and if you'd like to check it out, he was on the June 18th episode. So you could always go to littlethings.com/live, and when you click down on the drop-down box, you can pick Blank Canvas, and you can watch all of the episodes that you may have missed. But if you just want to catch up on the one that John was on, like I said, it's the June 18th one, and he did a pretty cool sculpture then. And I think it was for Father's Day.
Yeah.
So it was a tribute to Father's Day, which I thought was very, very cool.
Yeah, this whole series of work I'm working on or developing, it's like just for the theme of like single fathers in particular. I'm not one, you know, but I have a lot of friends who are, and you know, they share their stories with me, and I don't know, I just felt like doing something for them. You know, I hope to have like a bunch of work that I can maybe auction off, or I don't know, just do something, like, because I feel like a lot of people get a bad rap, and they shouldn't. Maybe that's too much.
Now, before we went live, you actually had to put the clay in the microwave.
Oh yeah.
So for anyone out there who might be thinking about experimenting with clay, what was the reasoning for doing that again?
Well, this clay in particular is firm. There's different levels of clay. There's some clay that's soft, some clay that's extremely firm. This clay in particular is firm. You know, it's like, it's solid. It's not exactly dry, but it's solid. So for that reason, when this was a block of clay, and when I first brung it here, it was a solid block, like a brick, you know, and just to soften it up a little bit, you throw it in the microwave for like a minute, and then it doesn't fall apart, but it's easier just to pull apart. Like even now, you know, it's still like, it's drying out a bit. Not completely dry because it's oil, but it's drying out a bit. So if I want to keep working, maybe about later on, I'll still have to heat it up one more time.
Okay.
Like if you were to take a picture of how the piece was in the beginning to how it is now, it looks like the little differences, but I can notice like how the shape is coming more alive. And all I'm doing is just chiseling out, you know, the proportions of the arm, you know, making sure everything looks okay. But there's an artist, I'll give y'all a little art history. Rodin, his stuff was never proportioned. All his pieces were messed up, and he's a master. So, you know, don't focus too much on proportions.
We have Mike in the comments from Colorado. He wants to know, were you trained? Did you go to school for this? Is this just something that you picked up? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I would say art in general is just something I had a passion for. I just made it my career. And when I decided to get into sculpting, it was just another idea, and I just ran with it. I had no idea how I was going to feel about it, but at the moment, I just knew I wanted to take one of my drawings and turn it to three-dimensional, make it like either on a 3D program or something. You know, I just had an idea, and I don't know. I just trial and error, just working with clay. I took one class for about a couple months. It wasn't for me. It just wasn't the right environment. So I just kept, you know, continuing to learn on my own, read books. You know, there's a lot of information out there. So if you really want to do something, especially with art, you know, you don't have to pay for it. You can pay for like a book or a DVD, and they'll give you all the information that like a course is going to give you if you went to a school. Some people need to learn it inside an environment, but I'm more of one of those people. I was like, I'd rather just, you know, learn on my own, learn under pressure. Like even with this piece, when I look at this compared to like my other work, or the previous sculptures I've made, this one is more, one, it's bigger, you know, it's more defined, and it's more realistic compared to my other work. My other work was more cartoonish because that's how I illustrate, you know, it's kind of cartoony, you know?
Yeah.
So this one I'm kind of branching out between illustrative and realistic. You know, I'm trying to find that medium. But like I say, it's like everything with art is just trial and error. There's no right or wrong way to do anything. It's just like you have to find your way of creating, and whatever works for you, just make it work. But I would recommend for anyone who's interested in getting involved or studying sculptures, just go to the museum and just spend any museum and spend time looking at sculptures, of any generation. It goes back to like Egypt, to Greece, to the Renaissance. It doesn't matter whose piece you admire. Just look at the piece when you're in the museum. Like really just look at the way they make the shape, the muscles, and they exaggerate the hands or the way they make the eyes. All of that, it matters. But just start studying art.
So for anyone who's just tuning in, our artist today is John Smalls, and obviously you can see that he is sculpting today. And can you talk a little bit about the piece really quickly?
Sure. This is just a piece of a father and what will be a daughter.
Okay.
For a collection of work I'm working on about single fathers and fatherhood. Hopefully you can see that what it is already, or not what it's going to become. Hope so.
And I think I asked you this even before we went live. Is this your largest piece to date?
It is. Yeah. Most of my pieces are about, I don't know, maybe I have a piece about this. But pieces are a little different because the stuff I made before were just characters. So this is the first sculpture where I'm making two figures together in one. So it's a little, it's a bit, I don't know. It's taller, it's heavier, more detailed. So yeah, it's my biggest piece to date. Oh, you know what? I wanted to show this. No, I can't show it. What I wanted to show is last time I was here, people asked me about the inside of the sculpture.
Yes.
Inside this piece, to get it to, because you can't just put clay on top of clay on top of clay, it will fall apart. But inside the sculpture, kind of like a skeleton, I have wires going all through. Maybe I could show here. So this piece, it's a wire sticking out from the hand of the child, and it goes all along to the other side. And I have another wire going down, and the same thing with the arms. Because if you work with clay and you don't have a wire, what they call an armature, you wouldn't be able to do this, to have these arms out here unsupported like that. They would just fall off. Nothing would stick together. So inside the head, the arms here, even the legs, of what you see of the legs to the butt part, it's all wire wrapped together to make a skeleton kind of for the sculpture. And if you ever go to a museum and look at a piece, some of the older, more broken up sculptures they'll have on display will have a giant iron rod sticking through, and that's the same principle. Because even though they might use a mold to make it, they have to have something to hold it together in the inside. That's kind of as well what gives it the base, so it's not falling over. I have a wire core right here that connects to both bodies. It makes it solid, it's not movable, just a solid piece. Just a little tidbit for anybody who's looking to branch out into, sculpture art. Don't forget to build the armature or the skeleton for the piece. And again, that comes with trial and error too, because you're gonna have to work with wires, and you'll find a way to make it work. But it's fun, because you'll build the skeleton, and then you'll lay on the pieces of clay, and then boom, next thing you know, you got a figure. And then you go in, you add the detail.
So everyone, we are loving what is happening with John, what he's got going on, but we have to take a really quick break, but I promise we'll be right back. Okay everyone, we're back. You're still watching Blank Canvas. John Smalls is still our artist for today. I'm loving the comments and the questions that are coming through. You're getting a lot of hearts, thumbs up. We have Paul saying, sending 3 thumbs up. This is really, really cool. Makes me feel inspired. And we have an actual John in the comments who's saying, hello, John. And he's a sculptor as well.
Nice.
Pretty cool. And we have Margaret, who wants to know, what type of tools are you using for sculpting? She sees you using your hands, but some people can see to the right side that you have some tools.
Yeah, I have these metal and wooden tools that I use. I don't know the exact names for them. Tell you a quick story. So when I took the sculptures class, or the sculpting class, the teacher had a list of supplies. And on the list, each one of these tools was like 15 bucks. That's possible. I'm not gonna pay that, if I got like over 20 tools here. So I go on Amazon, of course, and check out tools, and I find like all of those for like $10. So I go back to the class and I show everybody all my tools. And like, how'd you get all those? And I was like, internet. Because they paid all the money for the fancy tools.
Yeah.
So, always check around. Moral of the story. You can always get it on the internet for cheap.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because the prices they have for those tools, I was like, you're ridiculous. I'm not paying for that. Doesn't even make sense. But, one thing I always say with art, it's like, it's not the tool that makes the artist. It's like, it wasn't the sneakers that made Jordan who he was.
Exactly.
Even though people think it was like, it wasn't. It's never the shoes. It's never the gear. It's like, if you want to create, you create. Like when I paint, I don't use fancy paints. I buy cheap paints because they're cheap. I use my money for other things, but it still has the same effect. There's no difference at the end of the day. Great art is great art.
We have Tyler from Georgia who wants to know, how long do you think it'll take this piece to fully complete? When did you originally start it?
I started a few days ago.
Okay.
I think if I work on this piece for about 2 days, it will be done. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to do that. So I'm pretty sure I'll be done with this piece by next week. Working on it little by little. The one thing I've learned from clay, rather than any other art, but it also, because I learned this from clay, it moved over to my other art, was patience.
Okay.
And it's funny because even with painting, I never had patience. I would always just paint, just get it out, finish it, just force the paint. When I started working with clay, it was like, I don't know, something just told me, it's like, step away from it, let it settle, let it stick to itself and dry up a little bit, and just, I don't know, there's something about it where now when I work on something, I can leave it alone, come back, it'll be like a little bit different how I left it.
Okay.
And it's just, I don't know, I like that about clay. It's like, that's that whole artist mindset I have, but it's just, there's something there, and I enjoy like working with it with my hands. Because I see how when I give it a break, it works better for me. Rather than if I keep messing with it, it'll just like turn to garbage. So like I say, it's a lot of give and take, And now that's something that I've learned. So when I paint, I can leave my painting alone for like a couple days. As before, I wouldn't do that. Now I can step away, come back. Oh, I should do this, and it makes me appreciate my art even more. It's like a lesson that I learned just experimenting.
We have Jordan from Kentucky who wants to know, when you're getting in the zone of sculpting or even painting or working on a piece, do you feel like you need silence? Do you like music going on in the background? What do you like in order to kind of get in that zone?
Most time music, of course. For me in particular, it depends on what I'm working on. Like sometimes I don't want to hear any lyrics whatsoever. It doesn't even matter the genre of music. You know, I turn on the internet radio and I listen to everything. But like some days I want to hear like trip hop. Some days I want to hear like Tool. Some days I want to hear like cyberpunk music. You know, it just depends on the mood I'm in. Like even at nighttime, if I'm painting like 2 in the morning, or if I'm working on a piece like 2 in the morning, I'll hear some, I don't know, I'll listen to some, like, they got a station called Drone Zone. I don't know, it's trippy, but it works, you know, just depends on how I'm feeling. I think everybody has their method of creating. You know, you have your formula that puts you in the zone. You know, like athletes have them, you know, before they go to a game. You know, dancers have it, musicians have it. You know, it's just, you know, whatever quirks will get you creative or put you in that element to just like the warm up, you know, in other words.
So for everyone who's just tuning in, John Smalls is our artist for today, and he has been on a previous episode of Blank Canvas. He was on June 18th, and he did a tribute. Basically, his sculpture from before was to Father's Day. So if you are someone who tunes in all the time but may have missed his episode, or you're just new to Blank Canvas, you can always check out past episodes if you go to littlethings.com/live, click on the drop-down box, and click on Blank Canvas, and you can see them all. But if you're specifically looking for John's, like I said, he's the one from June 18th. And we also have a lot of other shows here at Little Things, so make sure you check those out as well. And you can follow John on his Instagram page and check out his website. You can see the rest of his work. John is not only a sculptor, but he also paints as well. We've had a few people in the comments who are saying they were checking out your Instagram page. So they're seeing a lot of other work. They've already asked about a few things. So, you know, you guys, if you have any questions about his work or anything that you'd like to see him commission, you know, you want to give him a commission piece, basically contact him and you guys can go from there.
That's right.
And especially if you're local, if you're in New York City or New Jersey, even as far as Connecticut, and you have maybe an art show that's coming up and you think John's taste is something that you'd want to throw in there, definitely contact him for that as well. You are open to being a part of shows.
Yeah, gallery shows, of course. Almost as a gallery show. I like a one-night show at a bar. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me, contact me, follow me on social media, send me a message. Matter of fact, last show, funny, after the show, I got contacted by somebody in Egypt. And, yeah. And they were asking like what kind of clay to get, where to buy the clay, because I guess it wasn't available out there.
Yeah.
So I just sent a bunch of links for stuff online, and that was it. It was like, cool, thanks.
See, I really like that. This is what I really love about Blank Canvas and us having such a far reach in the world, whether it's someone local or, like you said, someone, it could be Dubai, or we get people from the UK or South Africa watching, Malaysia. We have people from all over the world, and I always love to thank you guys for watching and tuning in every weekend because, I mean, these artists come on and they want to show you guys their talent and they work on these pieces and that they really hold close to their heart, and we're glad that you guys show love and support for them. That always makes me feel really good to hear. So I'm glad that even if they just needed some advice, they felt comfortable enough to reach out to you.
Yeah. Like, it's funny, a few people actually asked me about, like, why would I do the show? They're like, oh, are you getting paid? And I was like, it's not even about money, man. It's just, sometimes you just gotta share information with people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I'm not sitting here saying I'm the best sculptor, artist in the world or nothing like that, no. But if people wanna know about my process, then of course share it with them. They were like, I don't get why you're going on the show. It's like, because you're not an artist, you're not creative, you're selfish. You know?
Well, we're happy that you're on the show and that you're showing everybody your talent. think it's really cool. And obviously the audience really loves what you've got going on. Like I said, you have plenty of hearts coming through the screen and plenty of comments and thumbs up. So people really love what you're working on today. And for anyone who's just tuning in and may have missed what he's working on, obviously you can see he has a piece here. He's working with clay, and you said it's a father holding his daughter.
Yes, eventually.
Eventually. And you're working on a series of these, right?
Yes. So far I have about 2 paintings, 10 sketches, large sketches, and this is the first of hopefully 4 sculptures. So it's like a I guess a magnum opus of work. I'm a little older now. I've been doing art for a while, so I want to do something. I want to have something that's like a solid collection, meaningful collection of work. Right here, I'm just trying to add a little bit of detail to the child's face. Not like anything exact, just, you know, marking areas. So the indentation of the brow and probably add on what will be the nose. If you look closely, you can see like the curve I have here of the cheek. Little by little.
We have Petra from Miami saying she loves what you're working on and she loves the whole concept behind it with the father holding the daughter. And we'll really enjoy checking out your Instagram to see the series really come to life that you're working on.
Thank you.
Philip says, thank you for representing the single dads. I'm a single dad with 3 daughters, so this means a lot.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything bad towards single moms either. You know?
Not at all, but I think single moms, they do get, you know, they do get praise and for, like, you know, doing it on their own, which we love that, but dads also need some too.
Yeah, I just heard like a lot of stories from my friends, that's all. And just, I don't know, it just sparked something in me.
Nothing wrong with that.
For a while, it was funny, like when my earlier paintings, all it was women and children, you know. That was like late 90s, early 2000. So, you know, I go through phases in art. You know, I had a political phase, I do jiu-jitsu, so I had a big phase for like, maybe 5 years of just doing nothing but jiu-jitsu artwork. So now I'm coming back to like more personal stuff. It just so happens I'm into clay now, so it's like a little different. But one thing for everybody who's watching, I will say this about, you know, working with clay. There's no right or wrong way to use it. You know, some people have traditional methods, some people have more non-traditional methods. I consider my method like non-traditional. But, you know, just find or figure out what works for you and just do that. But don't focus too much on trying to imitate, you know, somebody who's famous because of their style. You know, just Learn to create and express art in your own unique way. Pick up a book if you get stuck. Print isn't thing. Like the one thing about this being a parent and a child, I can't have too many lines on a child or it'll just look weird.
Okay.
You know, so that's one thing I'm trying to be conscious of. You know, children have like, everything is curved. You know, so like even his chin, I see how it's so defined on an angle. I'm gonna have to go in and like curve it out a bit, you know, just soften it up a little bit. Like everything on a child, whether you're illustrating or you know, painting or whatever, it's always like circular, soft lines. Yeah, see? I can already see a difference. You know, don't have too many muscles. Have to keep going back and checking. Smoothing things out. But the parent can be chiseled, you know, detailed, muscular. Like ears and eyes are kind of tricky, but you know, my way of making it is just to put a clunk of clay and carve it out. You know, I've seen other ways, but this is the method that works for me the most. So that's what I'm doing. You know, I had a big ear, now I'm just, you know, cut it down, shrinking it, and I keep taking back a little bit so it's pretty much, it fits on the angle of the head.
So for everyone who's just tuning in, our artist today is John Smalls. His Instagram and his website has popped up periodically throughout the show. Make sure that you check out the rest of his work. Unfortunately, we are out of time, John, but we are so happy. Yeah, I know. 45 minutes goes very fast. We are out of time, but please continue to work. And we thank you so much from here at Little Things for being on Blank Canvas. We would love to have you back. And for everyone who watched today and tuned in, thank you so much for your comments and your questions. I always try to get to as many as I possibly can. You guys are awesome. And like I always say, whether you tune in every weekend or this is your first time, we do have shows every Saturday and Sunday. Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Sundays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And thank you again, John, for being on.
Peace.
Bye, guys.